Today on Monkey Life, Orang-utan Mimi's on the move, graduating from the nursery to join Tuan's group.
It's not going to be for long. It's not a very long journey to Tuan's house. I can see it from the other side of the fence.
No more monkeys in bird cages, as new laws to protect primates are passed in the UK, following a campaign led by Alison.
Somebody breaks those laws, their primates can now be seized, and there are penalties, both financially and potentially jail time.
And a puzzle feeder is just too puzzling for besotted Saki pair Desmond and Neevah. Monkey World in Dorset, buried deep in the English countryside, is the largest sanctuary of its kind on the planet. The team, led by Dr. Alison Cronin, rescue and rehabilitate abused and unwanted primates from all over the world.
You just never know how it's going to work.
The park provides a home for more than 260 primates from 24 different species. There have been some major changes over the past year for the park's orangutans, predominantly at Tuan's group. Young male Hujan left to join the nursery group, where he's absolutely loving life. And female Awan left the park altogether to reunite and pair up with Jin at Wingham Wildlife Park. The change around has provided the primate care staff with the opportunity to try to unify the remaining 4 orangutans making up Tuan's group. Adult females Roro and Lucky have never really got on, and have been living separately but within the group for months. Despite numerous past attempts to persuade them to live peacefully together, the 2 females have been unable to put their animosity aside, with Lucky continuing to intimidate Roro. However, the care staff have come up with a plan they think will help settle their differences. It involves 9-year-old Mimi, who lives at the nursery and is growing up fast. She can be overbearing with the younger members of the group. Now is the perfect time for her to graduate and join Tuan's adult group. The team are hoping her arrival will distract Roro and Lucky and ease the conflict.
Tuan's group's had a lot of change recently. Awan has recently moved out. There's still quite a lot of tension between Roro and Lucky within that group. So adding Mimi in, we don't really know how it's going to go. Hopefully it will improve the situation and have a new exciting friend to talk to, and hopefully all the girls will start to get along. It will certainly change the dynamics, so we'll have to see how it goes from this point on.
For the last couple of weeks, the team have been training Mimi to go willingly into a travel crate as part of her daily routine before going outside. And today, the hard work pays off.
Mimi's in the crate now.
Really nice job, guys. Thank you.
Mimi is safe and secure inside the crate. But it's not long before she realises something's up.
Memes? Mimi, hello, darling. You're all right, aren't you? I know. It's hard, isn't it?
Rachel offers some reassuring words.
It's not going to be for long. It's not a very long journey to Tuan's house. I can see it from the other side of the fence, so hopefully she'll calm down once we get there.
It may be a new experience for Mimi, but the trip is a short one, and the team have carried out plenty of similar moves. Mimi's transported quickly across to Tuan's house and released into a bedroom. Straight away, she begins checking things out.
She doesn't appear too bad, actually.
No, she seems pretty cool, doesn't she? Yeah. But yeah, we'll make sure we get some nice stuff in for her.
Yeah.
Despite the move and the unfamiliar space, Mimi is calm and curious.
Yeah, you know, this is the first day of Mimi graduating from the nursery and becoming an adult. So from that tiny little baby that we picked up in Moscow all of those years ago, she's now a lady and it's time to move on. And you know, you're gonna meet Tuan. He's a nice dude. She's already been seeing him from across the road. So hopefully she'll get on and settle in here, but it's her next step in her adult life. And luckily we can graduate her here where it's a bit more gentle. She's gonna know Tuan's lot. She's gonna have the same care staff who love her to bits. And then we can prepare her for her next phase in life. So, job well done by everybody.
The team plan to integrate Mimi as soon as possible. So, with Roro already waiting in a bedroom opposite, it won't be long before she gets to meet her new family. The park is home to a large number of marmosets. Almost all have come from the UK pet trade. And Alison has a long list of anxious owners also waiting for their pets to be rehomed. The backgrounds of many taken in by the park are often distressing. Their health and mental welfare are always the primate care staff's #1 priority, but managing it can be tricky. Every individual is nurtured and cared for, and easily find their way into the staff's affections. So it's always sad when one passes away through natural causes and old age, but at least the team know they've given them a more natural life.
We have a pair of Jeffroy's marmosets at the park called Fred and Freya. Unfortunately, we lost Fred very recently. He's been at the park for many years. He was a marmoset full of character. He was getting on quite a lot in years. And then unfortunately, he got a week where he just went downhill very, very quickly, and we ended up having to unfortunately put him to sleep. But the plus side of it is it did leave us with a female Jeffroy's marmoset in need of a partner, and having recently rescued Marcel, it meant that things kind of fell into place really well for Marcel, and he was able to be introduced to Freya.
Marcel arrived 3 months ago, and after being given a clean bill of health and a vasectomy, has been living on his own waiting for a suitable partner to become available. He loves the outdoors and has other marmosets nearby to interact with, but nothing beats company of your own kind.
So for marmosets, companionship is basically the most important thing. Along with the proper diet and the proper environment, if you don't have that social companionship, then that animal is just not living a good life. They live in these really, really strong pair bonds out in the wild. So you've got a male and female, they'll pair up usually for life. And then anything else outside of that is sort of threat to their territory, and they'll sort of team up together to chase off anything scary, work together. They have a really lovely cooperative breeding system in the wild where the whole family will help to rear the next generation. So if you take one away from all of that social companionship, you end up with a really emotionally and mentally damaged animal. They don't have any of the proper social interactions, they can't do any of their normal social behaviours. They end up very mixed up, very confused and very damaged.
Following Fred's loss, Freya was desperate for a companion. Although she's a lot older than Marcel, the pair struck up an instant bond. And the young male has been following his new partner around ever since. Freya has been teaching Marcel proper marmoset etiquette.
He's a younger boy, he doesn't always sort of appreciate that Freya's food is Freya's food and things like that. So he's had 1 or 2 mild tellings off just to put him in his place. But he's quickly learned that as long as she's boss, he's happy to live with her.
Freya and Marcel aren't the only couple who've been paired up recently. Clyde, who arrived last year, has become besotted with Jenny. They're often found cuddled up together. But the most recent heartwarming success story is that of Brass, an unusual pet trade hybrid whose origins are a mystery. He's had a pretty tough year with poor health and then losing his life partner Evie. But he rallied when the primate care team put him together with Tyre, a marmoset in need of companionship who recently returned to Monkey World from another animal park after losing her partner. The pair have surprised everyone.
And they've not looked back since, so it's been a really sort of happy ending after a bit of a tough year for Brass. We've got this lovely older lady Tyre who is just a fabulous female, and the two of them are really content together.
The team are delighted to see their marmosets happy and settled, but the waiting list for rehoming is still very long. Thankfully, there's been some recent good news that will change the situation in the near future for all pet trade primates. After 25 years of campaigning, countless representations to MPs and ministers, and a huge petition to Downing Street, a new law governing how primates are kept as pets in the UK has been passed by Parliament and will come into force from April 2026. Alison has been instrumental in the change.
We've managed to work very closely with the government, and I've been on several committees to help draft legislation, tweak it, get it into a functional state, and that has now been ratified. And it's the new animal welfare primate licensing. So any owners of these pets will have to step forward and say, I've got a marmoset, I've got a tamarin, to the local authority. The local authorities are then going to be tasked with going and checking up on these animals and making sure that they meet the standards of care which are now regulated. And if somebody breaks those laws, their primates can now be seized, and there are stiff penalties, both financially and potentially jail time.
The situation may not change overnight, but the days when someone can walk into a pet shop and purchase a monkey in a cage are coming to an end.
I'm just hoping that within the natural lifetime of this generation of marmosets, so within the next 10 to 12 years, the trade, open trade in them with no consideration on social media will stop. That we will no longer be seeing marmosets kept in bird cages in Britain, and traders, breeders and dealers unscrupulously taking the babies and selling them on to people individually who have no understanding or knowledge of their needs. So that for me will be a massive step forward, and it can't come soon enough.
One of the park's most recent arrivals, 6-year-old female Saki monkey Neevah, has settled in well. She's been at Monkey World for 3 months and has established a lovely bond with partner Desmond, who's 10 years her senior. Living alongside them is Loki, a male marmoset who finds it hard to fit in and prefers the company of the Sakis to others of his own kind. Today, the unlikely trio are being given a puzzle to solve.
So right now I'm prepping some puzzle boxes for our Saki monkeys, Neevah and Desmond, and Loki, who lives in there as well. Hopefully he'll get a look in. That's why we've got one big one and one small one. We'll hide them around the enclosure and hopefully they'll figure it out.
Ali is putting raisins, nuts and waxworms into the feeders and covering the treats with wood shavings to make the food more challenging to access.
Desmond has always shown quite a bit of interest in stuff like this, but he's not nearly as acrobatic as our new female Neevah. She is, you know, she's full of beans. She's very mobile, so I think we could probably hang these quite high in the enclosure or quite far away from branches. Either way, she's going to be able to get them, and Loki is definitely going to be able to reach them. He's definitely small enough to get everything.
The puzzle feeders, one large and one small, are suspended in the trio's outdoor enclosure.
So it's got a bit of movement on there as well, so it's not perfectly stable. This one's a bit more friendly for them to reach. Good. Right, I'll step away. He's already on his way down, so I'll scoot my way out.
A curious Desmond is keen to take a look. Neevah waits in the background while he makes sure it's safe. Saki monkeys and marmosets are arboreal, meaning they spend their lives in the trees, so the feeders are ideally placed. The Sakis have long, slender fingers, which should give them an advantage to reach the treats inside. But Desmond is perplexed by the puzzle. He gives it some thought, but seems unsure what to make of it, and wanders off. It's left to Loki to demonstrate the effort required, and the lure of the grubs, nuts and dried fruit encourages him to keep trying. From all angles. But his size proves a disadvantage. He can hold on, but hunting through the feeder at the same time is tricky. Attracted by Loki's efforts, Neevah arrives to take a look, but immediately loses interest. She's content enough with besotted partner Desmond following her everywhere. Ali's a bit underwhelmed by the Saki's response to his challenge.
Bang average, it's probably the best way to describe it. It was something new for Neevah, especially in the enclosure. She had a chance to examine it, not very closely, mind you, but she came and had a look. Decided it was probably a bit too complicated, so did Desmond, and they went about their business. We did see that Loki was very interested in it. I'm not sure how much food he got out of it. He's been able to stretch his legs, you know, use muscles that he's not necessarily always using. But, you know, sometimes these things just take time, and yeah, that's not a problem.
It may not be the result he was hoping for, but Ali will leave the puzzle feeders in place for the rest of the day, in the hope the trio will give them another go. And next time round, perhaps he'll adapt them. It's been an important few days for 9-year-old female orangutan Mimi. She's left her young playmates at the nursery to join impressive male Tuan and his group of 3 adult ladies. The move was quick and fairly stress-free for the youngster, and she spent the last few days acclimatising to her new surroundings. During the day, Tuan, along with Lucky and Ame, have been kept outside, while Roro and Mimi have been introduced indoors.
Yeah, historically, Roro's been quite nice in intros, so that's why we've gone with her first. She's quite good with youngsters, so although Mimi's not that young anymore, we're hoping that they'll get along well.
With Mimi settling into her new life with the adults, the primate care staff are doing their best to make sure her old playmates at the nursery aren't missing her too much. This morning, they're busy prepping breakfast to be served up in the outdoor enclosure. They're making sure the daily routine continues as normal, and so far it's working. The nursery orangutans aren't showing any particular signs of missing their old housemate. Bulu has glanced occasionally across to Tuan's enclosure, but Oisin, who it was thought might miss Mimi the most, seems quite relaxed and content. Oisin adopted Mimi when the youngster arrived from Moscow Zoo 7 years ago, but the matriarch has another great love: food. And this morning, she's even been climbing to find it.
Whenever we move an animal, a lot of the focus is on the animal we're moving, but we always worry about what happens to the animals left behind. Oisin is a very food-focused animal, so you know, she is going straight for breakfast. That might be masking other things that are going on, or it might just be as it is, and maybe breakfast is her #1 priority today. We'll see how she is as we go through the week.
Mimi's move from the nursery means there's currently more room for the others as they mature. Oisin is already a fully grown adult, but the 4 remaining youngsters still have plenty of growing to do. The newest member is Hujan, and he's thoroughly enjoying life in the nursery. He's even managed to persuade Oisin to take part in a bit of playtime. With the nursery group settled and content, the primate care staff turn their attention back to Mimi.
Come on.
The young orangutan has already met adult female Roro through the mesh, but since the initial contact, she's paid her little attention.
It's a really big change for her. It's a new house and new animals and really different to what she's used to. But as she's settled much more, she seems much more relaxed, and actually she's doing much better. We've seen her playful side come out, which is really nice.
The team decide to take the next step to integrate Mimi into her new family, introducing her to the other 2 females in the group, Ame and Lucky. But this time, it will be full contact. Tuan and Roro are being kept outside in the enclosure. And to distract them, Donna is giving them extra treats, including large gunnera leaves and sunflower heads, 2 of Tuan's favourites.
Tuan absolutely loves his food. Any little scraps that he can find, you know, we'll spend hours just picking away at things. So yeah, anything like this will actually get him moving a bit quicker and maybe lose a bit of weight, which is always good.
With Tuan and Roro fully occupied outside, inside Mimi is about to come face to face with a pair of adult females.
Just be nice, please, Mimi. Good girls.
The slide is opened and both Arme and Lucky move through to investigate the new arrival. She and Lucky have both looked after youngsters in the past and are excellent role models. Lucky gives Mimi a lot of attention, leaving Arme to sit back and observe. Mimi may have moved on from the nursery, but she's brought her fun-loving juvenile attitude with her.
Yes, Mimi's sort of like an annoying teenager, so she's just irritating. She's in your face if you're eating, she'll go and pull your hair and roll around on top of your head. And there's only really so much that the adults will put up with until, you know, they sort of put her in her place and tell her to get lost for a little bit. But they're doing it in a nice way, you know, they'll just follow her, push her around a little bit. So it's nothing much, they're just, you know, putting her in her place and telling her, okay, enough's enough.
Mimi's graduation to Tuan's group has created much-needed space in the nursery, and Alison already has plans in the pipeline to fill it in the future.
As it happens, I've got 2 more orphans in the wings. One I've been helping manage now for almost a year. We're waiting again for the appropriate time to be moving her. She's gorgeous and very spoiled, actually. That's going to be a little difficult to overcome at first, but we'll get there. And then a newborn little boy, both of them born in. Newborn little boy, different location, who needs a home, and that's probably going to happen much sooner rather than later. So have to get a few things settled down here at the park, and then I might be off to go collect a new baby orangutan.
It looks like there are exciting times ahead for the park's orangutans and their carers. Next time on Monkey Life, Jeremy's in Kenya to meet disabled chimp Chocolat and accompany her to the UK, where a new home and family are waiting.
You coming up? Good girl. Up we go. Good girl.
And back at the park, Brian's group test out the changes made to their enclosure in preparation for Chocolat's arrival.